Hi, my name is Victor Brian Smith, and I'm a cinematographer intern at the Atlanta Recording Film Connection and the CEO of Yet to Savage Entertainment. I'm here to present you my documentary, Shine On, a documentary about Athens electronic dance music. I've been working on this project for over 6 months. It all started with a vision, and it became a piece of art. You guys enjoy and follow this new movement. Thanks.
I think EDM is obviously a genre that has gained prominence on a national level and international level the last 5-10 years.
But there are so many different subgenres, so many different niches that people that love every type of music can get into.
There's a cycle of music. I think that things go in and out of fashion.
But I think people are starting to realize that electronic music isn't just one sound.
This town has nothing but mass potential.
There's a lot of great local DJs that are doing good work, so we want to give them the recognition that they deserve.
It's only going to grow.
That's something I want to change, doing events like this.
It's going to take us getting out there and pushing this and letting people know, like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what Athens has to offer, to get them to really grasp hold of it. But once it does, this town has nothing but mass potential for the electronic music scene.
I think EDM is obviously a genre that has gained prominence on a national level and international level the last 5-10 years, and we definitely want to spotlight what's going on here locally, because we know that people are into it. I know especially college students are into it, and there's a lot of great local DJs that are doing good work. So we want to give them the recognition that they deserve.
I definitely feel that Athens has potential in the EDM music scene.
Of course, there's a lot of talent in Athens.
Of course, it has potential. I've been around long enough to know that things are there's a cycle of music. I think that things go in and out of fashion. And I think that things that are happening right now, it's kind of part of this cycle as well.
It's only going to grow. There's so much room for potential, and countless students that come to school here spend their whole summers traveling to all these different music festivals and going and following this kind of music all over the country. It's going to take us getting out there and pushing this and letting people know, like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what Athens has to offer, to get them to really grasp hold of it. But once it does, this town has nothing but mass potential for the electronic music scene.
This is a rock and roll town. This is a country town. It's been that way for a long time. But I think people are starting to realize that electronic music isn't just one sound. It's not only a fist pumping, 4 on the floor, techno house, which isn't a bad thing. A million people love it, way more than a million. But there are so many different subgenres, so many different niches that people that love every type of music can get into. I just really see this next year as a place of exploration for the people inside of Athens to understand that there's a space for them within the community, and there's always going to be some type of show that they can enjoy.
Well, there's always been an electronic music scene in Athens, but it seems like it has never really gained enough strength to become something huge, and that's something I want to change. Doing events like this and continuing to produce, I want to try to develop something bigger here.
I can write better than you with my left hand.
There's definitely a lot of untapped potential in Athens. There are a lot of really talented DJs, that are kind of doing their thing under the radar. Things like the Acropolis series, which was happening at the former New Earth, now Livewire. And of course the Wired Music Festival really helped to shed light on those things, on that scene.
People, for instance, the Slingshot Festival that's happening every year, obviously Wired, the thing that we're doing, points to that there's definite interest in what's going on. And obviously there's a lot of other kinds of people who are into what we're doing. I think that there's no shortage of DJs or people who are passionate about it. And I feel like as long as people keep pushing, I think, there's gonna be interest, for sure. Acropolis was started by myself and Todd Dawson and our friend Andy, who has since moved.
Acropolis was sort of an idea that myself, Darcy Arenas, and a friend of ours who moved down to Florida a few years ago named Andy Torres, we wanted a place where, or a venue or some sort of outlet to be able to play the kind of music that we like outside of our own houses again.
We started it as basically a way to have a dedicated dance music night. At the time when we started it, it was about 3 years ago, there was kind of a general lull in dance music events here in town. There were things happening, but there wasn't a dedicated recurring event.
Acropolis, in our original concept, was a place where an event, whatever you want to call it, a community that was passionate about electronic music of all kinds, not just the dance kind. We were wanting to get more people involved that had sort of out there kind of electronic sounds too. We were just sort of electronic music in general.
We wanted to have something where we could all hang out, exchange information, basically have kind of a place where all DJs can hang out and talk about the thing that we like to do, basically, and showcase new DJs, showcase new music, keep things moving for dance music, basically.
So being the Athens community, and then also being free, something that didn't cost anything to go. A lot of people will, especially in the music business, will talk about values and how adding a monetary value to something makes people think it's more important. And that's a concept that we just don't agree with, and we never did. Because the value that we were trying to create was a safe environment, was a place where we could all hang out and listen to music, not something that people would be, trying to line up for. We were kind of hoping that they would, by accident or by the fact of it being there. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But we didn't really want that to be our main focus in terms of like trying to make money or to create a monetary value. We wanted to create the value to the people who were playing, not necessarily the people who were attending to watch.
Networking is everything. That's part of the reason why we started Acropolis, is to meet new people who are into dance music like we are, to connect with other people, exchange ideas, share music, go to shows together. I think that networking is everything, and especially nowadays, I think that people tend to think that lots of networking only happens online, but I'm pretty sure that the most meaningful connections still happen in real life.
Networking is everything, because in this day and age, for every person out there has the tools that I use to do what I do, a laptop, and there are millions of people out there doing the same thing I'm doing, and it's all about finding something to separate you from the others. I mean, great music is one thing, but that really is half the battle.
And relationships are such a huge piece of what I've always done and what I do now. I love making friends and meeting new people, and working in the entertainment industry, especially in a management role, when it comes to booking or any type of conversation along that line. It's all about meeting people, networking, starting relationships that are mutually beneficial and that are genuine as well.
Networks are a very interesting thing. I think you got to make a friend first and a contact second, and try and give more value than you take, and then the rest kind of takes care of itself.
Knowing people, having a great team.
Nowadays, you have to be a DJ, a producer,
A promoter.
a social media expert.
A good ground game is really important. I'm fortunate to have grown up in Athens, which has an incredibly vibrant music scene. And I've just been leaning on the people who I know, leaning on the connections that my artists have already had, and then reaching out to new people and continually finding ways to make stuff happen.
I can't say enough about the people that help me out. My friends that do all the management stuff, Heartwood Entertainment, my buddy Trampus and Owen over at Liquid Lux, they do a big part, providing all the lighting and making me look like a professional.
Especially doing what I do as an opening DJ, mainly I like to set the stage for whoever is coming next.
I think that nowadays to be an artist, and that's what I see with the Smokey project, is the more diversified you can be with your skill set, the better.
I've opened for acts everywhere from Ioto and Ill Gates, which make this crazy, heavy psychedelic bass music, to guys like the Floozies and Marvel Years, who play this new age funk style of music that I could be asked to do anything. So knowing those people, knowing the music they play, knowing the crowds of people that they're going to bring, it definitely is a huge part of what I do.
You have to be able to network and communicate, be a PR person. You have to know a little bit about contracts and being able to negotiate contracts. You need to be able, so being being a well-rounded person is huge.
Booking's kind of hit or miss. You can't be afraid to reach out to people that you've never known. You can't be afraid to ask people that you do know to do something with you. And I say with you instead of for you very intentionally, because anybody can go ask for a handout, but what you have to walk into these relationships with the mindset of, how can I help you and how can you help me? It has to be mutually beneficial, and you have to build from there.
I have my hands in this other small business called Ripstick, which a couple of my friends founded here in town a couple of years ago, which is a vaporizer electronic cigarette company that is kind of directly related to the music scene, which is cool. It allows for me to, you know, sort of cross business with pleasure because we do collaborations with musicians and sponsor music festivals and all kinds of stuff. So it's crazy the opportunities that that job opens up just by being there and also being an artist. I get to meet, crazy people that I'd never get to meet.
So Wired has been around since, I want to say, 2001.
We wanted to showcase DJ culture. We wanted an event dedicated to DJ culture. That's how Wired was born.
And I started DJing at it, which I believe the first one was 2011, maybe? Something like that. I'll actually have to go back and look at the posters. But that was, so at first it was more of, what the idea of Acropolis came from. It was a place where local DJs were having an opportunity to go and play, and in general play the music that they wanted to play.
I became involved in it because I was always a DJ. I was DJing before, since I've been DJing since the 90s, I was already around. And as a designer, I was asked to be part of that, to design, do the branding, and help market the event.
When I started getting more involved with the production side of Wired, that's still kind of the mentality that I try to bring to it. What it meant to me was it was a big sort of end of the season bash for the DJs in town.
I didn't actually become part of the group until, as far as like decision making and booking, etc., and all those things, until probably about 6 or 7 years ago.
What Wired's really meant to me is it's where I really got going. It's where I kind of learned that I could be not just a local DJ. I could actually grow and expand and learn to be a musician.
We were talking earlier about Acropolis, right? Acropolis is more of a recurring event that happens more often, like at least we started it as a monthly, and Wired is kind of the same kind of thing but on a larger scale that happens once a year.
What's up? This is Brian Organic. Used to live up here in Athens, been going to Wired since it first started years and years ago, and it's always been a piece of Athens culture. It's a small town, and we always had this one small pocket of electronic music fans, and even though it's kind of been a roller coaster in popularity since it started, it's always stayed strong and been here, and something we can count on every summer, and so we love that, and we love Athens.
There's nowhere else that has like the family atmosphere than there is here. Like, so many people know each other, so many people you're gonna meet people, you're gonna like make friends, you're gonna make family. So it's just like the best place to be. You're in Athens, you're in an awesome atmosphere. You can't beat it. Can't beat it.
One of the things that EDM is going to need to flourish in Athens, as far as I've been able to determine, is there needs to be some sort of financial backing.
Athens has never been that much of a dance music town. It's always been a band first, kind of town.
I think that a lot of the businesses in the music industry in Athens tend to shy away from it because the people who run them tend to be from a generation that didn't really embrace electronic music, and the people who are buying the shows and bringing the talent into Athens don't really have any sort of desire to listen to electronic music on their own.
They know they can go see the band at Nowhere Bar, and then they know they're going to get their groove on later on at so-and-so's house party that's got kegs and got, you know, whatever else. But that's the elephant in the room. Is Athens, Georgia. No matter what it has been, it's an uphill struggle. We accepted it, but it's just, it is a rock and roll town that no matter what, it's REM, it's B-52s, it's Widespread Panic, there is your competition indirectly, but it's still, it's Athens, Georgia. And I think we've done pretty well back when we did, and still to do well. It's just, that's what you're competing against.
You know, there needs to be probably more collaboration between genres of music in Athens. You know, I think that's a key thing that needs to happen for the EDM scene to kind of flourish a little bit more.
Athens has that turnover of people, like a high turnover.
Yeah.
You know? People don't.
Every year you get another show.
People don't come here to stay. You know, it's like, you know, at the most people are here for 5 years, 4 or 5 years, and then they're gone. And over those years, your interests change. You might not go to the same place anymore, or not the same thing is cool anymore.
The main problem with something like electronic dance music in a town like Athens is that the turnover of the young people is so often that it's very difficult to get a crowd that will show up for longer than a year or two. And that makes it very difficult to build up a consistent scene. And until something really exists that can figure out how to deal with that turnover, I think that EDM will always struggle in Athens, unfortunately.
I've grown up here in Athens. We've got a really diverse community. My high school is, you know, I don't know, it was like 70% African American, and so that's what the culture was. And Outkast is probably my favorite group of all time. I've loved them since the first second I heard AT-Aliens drop in '96, I think it was. Same time the Fugees came out with their hit album, and it really kind of changed my perspective. I got into that really hard. I like Dave Matthews Band a lot. Listened to him for a really long time, and, you know, evolved out of that into jazz for a while when I first got to college. Have always listened to the hip hop side quite a bit.
The first ones that come to mind are bands like Pink Floyd. String Cheese Incident is a band that is touring now that is just pushing the boundary of what people consider a band. Some of my favorite producers include like Michael Minert and Derek Vincent Smith of Pretty Lights. And there's a lot of up-and-coming producers around Athens, Atlanta, and Colorado has a lot of up-and-coming producers that I really like what they're doing as far as making music that isn't just about getting people to move, but it's about getting people to look inside themselves and change themselves and see how they can better themselves and the people around them and the world around them.
The past couple years, it's been EDM. Man, once I heard Bass Nectar and Pretty Lights and the stuff that's been going on, I mean, granted those are the big names, but the stuff that's been going on with that really melodic, beautiful music, and also that bass heavy music, it takes me back to my hip hop days. It really grabbed me, and I love to dance, which is such a huge piece of it. You know, dancing is, I think, really important for anybody's life, but how can you really enjoy music if you can't dance to it? EDM's all about that.
I started hanging out with people that frequented this place in New Earth, which is Livewire now. It seemed like there was a show, you know, every other night, and I just started, you know, gaining interest in electronic music and the art of DJing. My brother actually owned a set of turntables and used to let me borrow them, and I would mess around with scratching and stuff, but you know, there was like a 2-year gap where I didn't touch anything music related, and then kind of it came back around and sort of, you know, developed into a real thing, sort of out of nothing.
I'll see you guys next week. Open it up for Wicked at Terminal West. Y'all come get the fuck down with me.
I realized that every time I wasn't working, that I was out of my house at a show. I was spending all my time there, I was spending all my money there, and I realized that that's what really made me happy, even more so than having the experiences that I was having working in restaurants. And I thought, why not get paid to do what I love? It's kind of everybody's dream, but few people are able to realize what it is that they love and then be able to identify a way to make money within that experience. I was very fortunate to have a couple of friends, Andy Harrington and Robbie Beck, who are very talented DJs whose careers started to blossom right as I started to realize this ambition. And we had several conversations, and finally they came to me and said, you know, we're getting to the point where we need help. And we know that you're good at forming relationships. We know that you have a business background, have owned businesses before. You know, how can we work together to help each other? And that's how Heartwood Entertainment was born. Was really in response to, you know, them opening themselves up to wanting somebody to come join them in the journey that they're taking right now.
Within the next year or so, I really want to spend a lot of time working on original music. As a DJ, I like to create collages and different adventures for my listeners, I guess, the crowd that is there for that night. But I want to spend the next year working on music that comes straight from me, that's originally orchestrated and uses small samples of songs that I have grown up with and come to love to create something new, so that I can offer something completely original to the people who've been following me over the last 3 years.
I'm looking forward to get on the road, finding ways to continue to be productive, even during long stretches of time, either in the car or stuck in hotel rooms and environments where you're not comfortable and as productive as you normally would be. Finding ways to challenge myself to stay focused and to utilize every second of productive time in the correct way. And then also learning how to deal with people that deal with extremely large sums of money. You know, I mean, obviously the goal is to make money in this game. Like, that's why I'm doing it, aside from my existing love for it. And people take on a little bit of a different mentality when you start talking about $5, $10, $15, $50,000. You know, I met artists at Counterpoint that were getting paid over $100,000 to sit down and play for 2 hours. And granted, there's a lot of work and stuff that comes in before that. I'm not going to limit what they're getting paid for to that time on stage. But people start to behave in a different manner, and to be able to live up to the expectation of what they see is necessary to do business with. Because I understand how to talk to people, but it's a whole different game when you put a bunch of zeros behind it.
I've only been doing this for about 2 years now, and the amount of ground I've covered in the last 2 years is kind of hard to believe to myself, and to be honest, I really have no idea how far this could be in the next year or two, but I'm excited to see.
In the next year to 2 years, I see Heartwood Entertainment managing up to 6 different artists that are touring regularly, making enough money to support myself without having to continue to work a second job, which is a big deal. And finally, I see our business's production and event planning side to expand to the point where we are throwing regular large-scale events in the Athens and Atlanta area and collaborating with music festivals, both in the production, logistics, sound, and stage design areas.
As long as people keep pushing, I think, you know, there's going to be interest.
There's so much room for potential.
I definitely feel that Athens has potential in the EDM music scene.
I know that I've got some stuff that I can't really talk about quite yet that's in the works for Athens.
In the next year to 2 years, I see Heartwood Entertainment managing up to 6 different artists.
Play some more shows, of course.
Within the next year or so, I really want to spend a lot of time working on original music.
My goals for next year are really to continue to focus on honing my craft and refining the quality of my music, push that out to labels and just get higher, more distribution and get my music in as many people's hands as possible.
What you say? You just have to do what you say and stick to it.
Live from the heart, nothing but love, baby. You shine your light bright, people like it, and they'll come. And you just gotta keep on shining. Keep on, baby. Keep on, baby.
To be honest, I really have no idea how far this could be in the next year or two, but I'm excited to see.
My name is Victor Brian Smith. I had this vision. Once Steve Jobs said, if you're working on something exciting that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision pulls you. Martin Luther King said, the difference between a dreamer and a visionary is that a dreamer has his eyes closed and a visionary has his eyes open. Carol Claypool said, visionaries look into the future and see things not through the lens of current reality, but through the lens of future possibility.